Hey everyone, my name is Noah. You can call me the Plant Man. Today I've got another video for you. I'm just going to be taking you around the grow tent. I want to show you guys basically what I'm looking for when I'm watering. I'm not going to be doing the cactuses because I did them on the first of the month. When it comes to watering my cactuses, when I get a cactus, I just let it dry out for a complete month. After that month, I give it its first watering. Sometimes, depending on the species, I'll water in 2 weeks. That'll be things like the epiphytic jungle cactus, like your dragon fruit, your orchid cactus, your Schlumbergia. Those typical kinds of cactus that have higher water requirements because they're epiphytic, meaning they live on trees, and basically the roots grow into the bark. The bark holds on to a little bit of the moisture from the rain, if I'm not mistaken, and then the roots wick up that moisture, and that's how they end up watering themselves in the canopy. So yeah, I think a good place to start would be my tropicals in the corner right here. These guys probably get watered at least anywhere between once a week to about once every other week. I'm gonna take a step out of here and show you guys. So I have the fan going on. Not moving the fan out of the way, but I still leave it on just because like airflow is fine. You can turn off your fan. I don't think it really matters that much. This is a guy that I cut right back, and I said that it would push out new spots of growth, and I could choose either which one I want to continue to grow, or I can just let them all grow and do their thing. Because this guy's in like a sealed environment, basically, you're gonna have to worry about things like if you end up doing stuff like that where you put your thing in a bag, you're limiting the amount of oxygen, meaning it can go anaerobic, meaning it can get root rot relatively quickly. The lack of oxygen isn't the cause of root rot, it will prevent it. So if you use I find that if you use water that's been it has an air stone in it and it's adding air to the water, it's like super oxygenated. Not only do your plants grow a little bit quicker, but the cool thing about that is you're a lot less likely to run into things like root rot, just because the bacteria that causes the root rot, if I'm not mistaken, is anaerobic, meaning it likes an environment with a lack of oxygen. So if you give it an environment with a lot of oxygen, it's not able to proliferate, and because it's not able to proliferate, meaning like growing in a big colony, it won't be able to take out your plant. Your plant's natural defenses should be able to take care of that a little bit of bacteria. So yeah, I'm gonna end up flipping this camera around and showing you guys a little bit more of like what I'm actually looking at, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna be watering everything in this corner, like I said. Just taking a quick look around. I think something else you do, pick up your pots. So this pineapple's fine, that pineapple's fine. By the looks of it, this pineapple's fine. Here's a flower of my orchid cactus. Vanilla orchid is really light. We're gonna give some water to the vanilla orchid. This guy's still kind of heavy, so we're gonna leave him, let him continue to grow. Now I'm gonna pull these out just so that it has more room to grow. So I don't want the leaves running into here and flattening out. I want it to be able to get as much surface area facing the lights as possible so that I can photosynthesize and grow a little bit faster. So quick mental note, these guys, they're all wilting. You can tell that they're wilting. The flowers will stand up straight when it's watered, and it's wilting right now. So what happens is the cells in the plant actually get hard with water. And with a lack of water, the cells aren't able to, like, think of it like a water balloon. How you fill up a water balloon, and at first it's kind of like squishy, but the more you fill it up, the harder it gets. That's kind of the same principle with plants. And so what's happening is there's no water to basically hold it up straight as if it were, full of water. So right now it's wilted. When it's full of water, it's called turgid, and turgid just means water filled. Basically, it's basically just like saying the opposite of squishy. Like this cactus is very turgid. There's no, if you look at my finger, there's no give there. It's completely solid. That's very turgid. Whereas something like this, so like floppy, that's wilted. So we're gonna give this guy, these two peace lilies, some water. Pick up this guy, feel what he feels like. So there's a little bit of weight to it, but not a whole lot. This is some diatomaceous earth because I've seen some webs on it. I don't know if they're spider webs or what. So I just gave it a little dusting of diatomaceous. Okay, I know that was a lot and I'm kind of getting all over the place. Might be getting a bit ahead of myself, but I basically just go through, take a quick check at all my plants, say, okay, yeah, this one feels nice. You can look, oh, that's really wet soil, so that definitely doesn't need a water. Look over here. That's feeling pretty light for the basil, so that's gonna need some water. So now in my mental checklist, I know what needs water and what doesn't. This guy can be taken out of here. This guy needs water. This guy needs water. I don't think this guy needs water. So yeah, with a lot of plants, you're gonna want to get used to what they feel like when you pick them up. Like these, I watered these 3 or 4 days ago and they're almost completely dry, which is what I want for a cactus. You don't want it sitting in water for days and days on end, because what's gonna happen, it's gonna get that rot. Some plants are a lot more prone to rotting than other plants. Like for instance, many cactus, they'll have a higher chance and a higher probability of rotting if they are in a waterlogged soil. And then something like a fig, for instance, it can have, figs and basil are a good example. They can have almost always consistent soil moisture. You wouldn't necessarily want these to dry out completely. What's going to happen, figs are amazingly drought tolerant, but the thing is, once they hit that drought, they drop all their leaves so that they don't perspire anymore in hopes to save the wood. So basically, to get it to grow again, you're going to need to give it a lot of water and wait a lot of time to get those beautiful leaves back. So let's get at it. So I got my water right here. I've got probably about 10 liters of water right here because I used about just over 3 liters of water to water my cactus. What I like to do is mix up water individually. So what I'll do is I take like a previously used jug or a bucket or whatever you want to do, and like whatever kind of vessel it works for you that's clean, you're gonna use it. This one's clean, I know it's clean. The only thing that's been in there at the bottom, well, there's a little cat hair. So the only thing that's in the bottom is the sediment that's collected from when I watered my cactus, because I bottom water my cactus. When the water is in here, I'll take the cactus and I'll submerge just up to the soil line. I wait for the water to come up to the soil line, and then I pull it out, let the excess drip off, and I go right on to the next one. That's a really good way of watering your cactus. The purpose of doing that is solely to, there's 2 reasons I do it personally. It's to save the wool of your cactus. So a lot of these cactus will have like fuzz all over them, and that's just what I'm trying to do, is maintain the fuzzy appearance. I don't want that fuzz to, what happens when it gets wet, it looks like a wet hair. So that's one reason. Another reason is if you see there's small little spider bite marks, those will heal out all on their own. But if you were to submerge your cactus, like some people, they literally, this is your water, they'll put the whole thing underwater, or they'll water it and they'll water the whole thing like right over the top. And I don't see there being an issue with that, because the skin of the cactus actually absorbs water as well pretty effectively. But the issue with that is if you do have some kind of pitting from spider mites, or there's some issues like it was damaged, that will have a higher probability of it actually turning into something worse, like rotting, or just, you know, the damage becomes more than it should be. Beautiful specimen. 25-year-old, 26-year-old northern Lophophora. So beautiful. Okay, so water. Now everybody's different. What works for you and what works for me might not be the same thing. What I like to do is I'll use a Foliage Pro for all of my plants. That's just gonna give them a 936 with also the micronutrients in there. So that's like iron, boron, and some of those other trace minerals. And that's basically gonna fortify the soil and give it the nutrition that it needs to sustain the growth. So this is like it's an iron enricher. Specifically, I bought it specifically to fix the anemia of one of my citrus last year, and I found that this little measuring cup is kind of handy. So I'll use it still, and it's dirty and gross, but it does the trick. I'm sure I could clean it off and make it a lot nicer, but this is just me. So the bottom is 5 mil. This is 5 mil is 1 teaspoon. This is 2 to 3 teaspoons per gallon of water in a recirculating system, or 1 teaspoon in a gallon of non-recirculating systems. So to me that would be 1 teaspoon, because it's a non-recirculating system. They're only getting hit with this once. If it were recirculating, basically the nutrients would be going through a reservoir and then being pumped back in, mixed in with water. It'd be pumped into the soil, and then or soilless media, and then it would be pumped back out, and it would be circulating. That will add oxygen and a lot of other things. So go 5 mils. And some of this is a bit of guesswork. I'm just gonna guess that we're probably gonna be at 2 gallons here of water. A little bit of experience comes into play with that. If you get nutrients on your hands, you don't want that to sit on there for a long time. Go wash the nutrients off right away. So I'll be right back. I like to mention about my videos are everything is completely unscripted. It's by the seat of my pants. So if this video's sloppy, disorganized, sometimes I explain stuff on Rants, and it's just I'm kind of learning. I don't necessarily want to be as super strict and go with the script. So a gallon is roughly 3 liters of water. If you eyeball that, that's about just over 1/3 of this for 2 gallons. And what I'm gonna do is basically just match them up. They look pretty equal to me, so I know I've split them. So that's my water now. Give it a little mixy-poo. If you're dealing with plants that are a little more finicky, that have higher requirements, I would highly recommend specifically getting something called a ppm meter, which is parts per million, and a TDS meter, which is total dissolved solvents. What that's going to do is it's going to tell you how much stuff is already in your water before you add stuff to it. So the reason I say that is because if you're starting with water straight out of your tap, that's really, really hard. You could have ppm that's at 800 and something, and your plants might take that once or twice. Some won't even handle that once, but if they do handle it a little bit, what ends up happening is the minerals dry out into the soil and collect. They collect around the roots, and then it creates this time scale basically all throughout the soil, and it locks out nutrient absorption of your plants, and they basically just suffocate and die. they're unable to get everything they need. The roots can't grow. It's one of those things where it cascades and it snowballs. It starts off as, you know, a small little issue and it turns into something crazy. Or it can turn into something crazy. So, like me, you're probably gonna feel a little overwhelmed trying to get into your grow tent. So what I like to do is I will remove everything that's kind of cluttering the area. Even if it's something I have to water. And I work from the back to the front. The reason I do that is so I'm not stepping in like little puddles and stuff, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to have watering stuff, drip here, drip there. Then before you know it, your socks are going to be soaked and you're going to be turning a fun experience into one that's not so fun. So you can see this guy is very wilted. Some of the leaves aren't very happy at all. This is a new leaf. It's not very happy. So when I water, I always, when I'm potting, I always leave a good, I would say near an inch, maybe a little bit less, around the top. The reason I do that is because when I water, the water goes way up, like way up to the top, right? Not quite to the edge where it's going to overflow, but you see how there's that second ring? There's 1, 2 rings. The top ring is where the absolute max I'll fill up the water to, and what happens is it slowly goes down and wicks down. If your soil's super dry, you're going to need a drip tray 100%, because what's going to happen, the soil will be hydrophobic, meaning it will repel water. The water will go around down the sides and pool on the bottom, and then what's going to happen is if you don't have a drip tray, you're going to spill everywhere. And if you do have a drip tray, it'll sit in that water and it'll wick back up into the soil until the soil's saturated. And then when the soil is saturated, it's sufficiently watered. So that's basically what I did. Splash some water in there. I see it hit all the sides. You also get a feel, the more that you do this, the easier it'll be, and you'll slowly start to understand what's going on. So with citrus in particular, you have to wait for them to fully dry out between waterings, and that will make it so you have no chance of root rot. They're not, I wouldn't say they're like the most prone plant to root rot, but they are pretty prone to root rot comparatively to a lot of other tropicals. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Most tropicals are prone to root rot. If you let them sit in the soil that's wet, they will always rot. And these guys, I'm going to pick up the phone and see if I can. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed. So I went pretty much over the whole top of the soil, and then that's wicking in, and it'll start to pool up on the bottom when it's gone through all of the soil. If none comes out the bottom, even after like 5-10 minutes, you should add a little more water, because to me that means that it's soaked up everything. You tricky trickster. So this orchid cactus has sensed the soil here, and it's starting to push its root into the soil. So I gotta make sure I move that. This guy, Enduropoia. Oh man, this is so sketchy. That might be a little too much. Oftentimes when you put too much in, it'll pool at the bottom and overflow. So you want to keep an eye on that, especially on these ones where the actual drip tray is connected. These ones, you know, the drip tray is not connected. You pull it out, put it on a bit of an angle or something, and just let it drip. And then that should give you a little bit of extra room in the pot, like in the drip tray, and it'll wick it up, use up all the moisture. And if there's still some extra, put it flat, wick up all the moisture. If there's still some extra, you pull the plant out of the drip tray and drip off the excess. If there's excess in these, damn it. Yeah, so I accidentally dropped my phone on top of this guy while I was watering. I'm gonna need to put it back down and just water more carefully. It's always better to be safe than sorry, you know, doing something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that can be the stresses of watering. Let me make sure my orchid is watered. That's what broke off. My phone hit something and I thought it was one of my cactuses, like my rare Lophophora, but it's just an orchid cactus. Not so much of a big deal because I can just cut it off clean and it'll heal just like that. But yeah, I seen like green cactus juice on my phone and I was looking for the broken piece everywhere. Thank goodness. Scooch in. There it is. So, I'm looking around for the broken part. It's right there. Not ideal because of how it broke, but what I can do is I'll cut it on an angle so that this part is the very top and then that part will be gone and there'll be no more damage. And because it'll be a nice clean cut, it should heal like this. So the excess water will go through, start to pool under it. There's gonna be like a area in there that's still dry. So what you're gonna wanna do is let it wick up for a little bit. Wicking is just like the idea of like a candle, how a candle wick would burn away, but because the wax is being melted and then it soaks up into the candle wick, the wax is what's being burnt mostly. And my thumb hurt so bad, I accidentally poked my cactus and one of the spines went right into my finger, like real deep. It feels like there's something in there still, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, another thing you can do is pick up your plant. It feels super light still. It's barely taking on any water, so I'm just gonna let it keep soaking up. This one, it's actually a lot heavier than it was. That'll conclude the video. I hope this is helpful. I know I went off on a tangent and talked about 100 different things, but I hope that helped and it was a little bit of a clarifying video for some of you. And like I said, these are unscripted, so if you guys are interested in anything or you kind of have like something you want me to make a video about, let me know. Drop it down in the comment section. I'd be more than happy to. Yeah, take care, guys.